Hey everyone, welcome back to another edition of That's Cool, where we sit there and find different pieces of technology that afterwards you may sit there and go, oh, that's cool. And this time around, we're going to tackle something that came out due to the pandemic. Ron Laken developed something that was really neat. He developed a system to keep you cool while hiking in the heat. And when the COVID outbreak happened, he decided he can make his system to help sanitize first a gym, then he realized it could help a lot more. Let's take a look. Okay, joining me now is Ron Laken. And Ron, tell me a little bit about what you invented and how you came up with this whole system.
Sure, Joe. Um, we're a hiking product company, and because I was out crossing the Sahara on a 1,000-mile journey, it was 140 degrees a few years back, and I was dying literally out there. Coming from Arizona, where I live now, I thought I was pretty tough, but I got out there and pretty much first week cried like a baby. It was 140 degrees every day, no relief. And I learned from my cameleer, I actually have a cameleer, that if you take your water and you put it in a bowl and put it out in the sun, the evaporation leaves behind pretty much ice cold water right behind. So that was my only relief. I'll never forget that first sip of water I had. So I started thinking about my camelback type systems, and why couldn't I put a mist system, which we're used to here in Arizona, that we have on the commercial buildings and our patios and things. Why not put one portable built in with a little wireless remote control that I can just turn on and it'll come out at chest level. And wherever I walk into it and I'm drinking from the same system out of the Camelback's hose or whichever system. So we went ahead and I went ahead and actually, it took a few years to get that going, and I researched it out, got a patent, did all the hard work on it, and came out with our own systems.
Yep. And I'm
And
going
then,
to let me back in and say a little science on that, because as being a meteorologist and teaching meteorology, I always teach my students that it takes 500 times the energy to evaporate an ounce of water than it does to raise it a degree Celsius. So when you sweat and it evaporates, that comes from you. When you water evaporates, it cools it off. And especially when there's a very dry atmosphere, it's amazing. So what you experienced, I'm not surprised at all. So this was really smart in using that science.
well, thanks for that. And that it is really great interest. The science behind it all is just fascinating on how the energy transfer happens. Because you could put boiling hot water, and I tell my customers that if you put in boiling hot tea water, you're still getting out that cold mist out of the thing through the energy exchange, which is a whole physics 101 that you could explain, but I can't.
Yep, no, that's absolutely true. And sometimes that'll evaporate even quicker, which so therefore that energy process happens even faster with the warm water. So yeah, that's really neat. So that was really smart. And Extreme Mist is the name of your company, correct?
That's correct. Extreme Mist PCS personal cooling systems. And but again, we had this going and it's going quite well. We're in like REI and a couple of the stores around with our cooling systems, and then COVID rolled around. Well, our office that I'm in right now, just 500 feet that way, not even that, 300 feet that way, is my gym in the same center. So this was back in early March, and they were already talking about closing down because of this pandemic virus that hardly anyone knew anything about, but they were worried about it. And in gyms, they always have those little squirt bottles at the stations that you're supposed to spray down yourself, but no one was being, no one really understood that the gym after hours and things was going through and disinfecting areas, but you don't see them doing it. So you don't really know if they do or don't. You just know you're supposed to do it. So the gym said to me, they were in a meeting. I went in, what's going on? And they said, yeah, we're going to close down. And I said, really? And they said, yeah, until, things change on this. And there was no mandatory shutdown yet. And I said, you know what? I might have a solution for this. Give me 5-10 minutes before you make that decision. I walked back over to the office. I grabbed one of my packs. I yanked off the drink hose and plugged it off. And I extended the mist nozzle that normally would sit at my chest. So I'm always walking into the cold mist. And I extended the line into a longer one, arm's length. And then later I put a wand on it too for ease. But it's a delivery system. And I knew that because what's in the back of my backpack is this small, lightweight pump, about the same size as my cell phone, but thicker. And it goes into the back of my backpack. And that's what operated our misting systems. Well, there was no reason why we couldn't do that with this system. So we went ahead and I went back over, put it in, and put in their products, and they put it on and started spraying. So they're walking around with this thing. It's made for runners, so it's the most comfortable pack in the world for sanitizing. It only weighs 6 pounds fully loaded with 2 liters of solution and the whole kit and caboodle. So they walked around in the gym, started spraying. Everyone broke out in applause in the gym, and they ended up staying open until the mandatory shutdown. And now they still use it. And many restaurateurs and everywhere. We sent some of these samples off to some of the hot spots, like Elmswood in New York and some of the other COVID centers, and in Phoenix here as well, and just gave them to them. We didn't want to go into this business. It wasn't our intention. And because there was a lack of spray units, just like toilet paper and everything else, you couldn't get them. And we had thousands of these ready to go for misting and drinking. So we went ahead and started switching them over, and we sold thousands and thousands of these things immediately.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, we have such a need for that right now. And I do know, I mean, this is great for not only just the restaurants, the movie theaters, and now the products you can put in it. Is there anything that you can or cannot put in there, or?
Well, we recommend not going over 70% alcohol in the system, but we've actually used it and haven't had a problem with it. But you shouldn't really be using that much and spraying that around without having respirators and everything on anyway. So we do recommend, of course, wearing gloves, but there's probably, Joe, I think, and I might be exaggerating, but I think there's probably 2,000 different chemicals out there worldwide for disinfecting, from your Lysols on up to the commercial grades of everything.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of home products, home remedies as well. Some bleach water, hydrolyzed water. There's a lot of different things you can use. So our system, you pretty much can put anything you want back into the bladder system, which is what we carry 2 liters in the back of our pack. And that's in this right here.
Yeah, it looks just like one of my Camelback. So, okay.
Except you don't have a skull and crossbones with a warning, don't reutilize for drinking after you use it.
Yeah.
So we put that on it. And it is exactly what we use for our misting and drinking system. It's same bladder.
Yeah. And you don't suggest people, and I'm just kind of joking, you don't suggest them of trying to retrofit their old machine to do this. You definitely want to have 2 systems.
Yeah, well, one, they're not going to have the pump in there with it, but if they own one of our systems now, yeah, we recommend that they just have one for each.
So is that the difference? The pump is able to spray it out a little bit more. Is that the difference between the 2 systems?
No, it's exactly the same, to be honest,
okay.
Except when you're hiking, you'd never turn it up over speed. There's 8 speeds on this, and you'd never turn it up past speed 3 or 4 when you're out hiking, running, cycling, because it would just go out to the ether. It'd be too much. But we put multiple speeds on here because we also made, and going off subject for a minute, we made a kit that can go onto your tents, go onto anywhere, and it's 4 nozzles on a 16-foot line that's trimmable. And that's why we put on this wireless remote control 8 speeds, so that you can actually really put out a large cloud of atomized water, or in this case, a large cloud of atomized solution. Now, some of the hospitals have told me that because it'll put out in microns, it'll put out 40 to 60 microns, which is pretty small, but it's not fogging and disinfecting right now with some of the foggers. A lot of these chemicals that are out there, of these 2,000 different agents out there, there's a thing called dwell time. And the dwell time is how long it has to stay wet on a surface in order for it to kill certain microorganisms. And if a lot of them take anywhere from 30 seconds on the really, really good ones up to 15 minutes on the dwell times, leaving it on. So a lot of systems out there that are just foggers, they don't get it wet enough. So it's not staying on there long enough. It dries up right away. So our system being 40 to 60 microns is actually atomized, not fogged, and it's not nebulized. I think you might know that word,
Yep.
but it's not fogged. So it's still putting out particles, and it drops fast enough not to linger in the air. The particles are big enough to drop, but small enough to get into every nook and cranny you could imagine in a knurled weight bar or on a countertop or anything like that. So the solution you pick is going to depend on the kill time, on how long it takes, meaning the dwell time. And also, they also want to make sure that they get at least a 99.9% kill effectiveness on it. And a lot of them that you'll find are 99.5, and people don't really read the labels, but 99.9 minimum. And there's some that go out 99.999 out there. So
Wow.
you really got to pick whatever job you're doing. Some of the hospitals, I started to say, will use this on the 8-speed to do general of the walls and all the hot spots. But if they're on the operating tables or something, they may turn this down to speed 4 to bring the micron size, the droplets larger, so it covers longer on the tables. Yep. Again, all that depends on what solution you're using. And we don't sell solutions. We don't have anything to do with them. We're just the delivery system.
Yep. Okay. All right. Now, if I were a business or even an individual that's looking to get it, and I'll put links on this story, where can people get it?
They can go to portablesanitizingsystem.com. That's portable sanitizing system, not plural, system.com. And that's our website. So they can find it there.
Okay.
There's a few other places, resellers, some janitorial supplies, some Ace Hardwares, things like Janny King that I'm not sure if they're selling, but they've bought hundreds of them for their franchisees and things. So they're out there, they're out and about, but mainly at our website is the definite easiest way probably to find it.
And I would think that in the even after beyond COVID, this is something that I think is going to be used in a lot of public places because it's easy.
I believe you're right on that. Sanitizing's not going away. And listen, again, it's an industry that I got shoved into some months back now, and I've learned quite a bit, but it hasn't been my life's long dream to be in the sanitizing and disinfecting industry. But having said that, the whole industry pretty much feels, at least for our generation and maybe the next two, that this is going to be a mainstay. Disinfecting is just going to be a normal process of our life from here on out, even after COVID's gone.
Yep, I agree. I agree. And Ron, I'm looking forward to. I am an avid hiker. I wish I would have made this connection before I went hiked in the deserts of Utah in the 1-teens in the sun, because I think the mister would have worked out. And I look forward to actually working with you toward the next warm weather season here in Pennsylvania, and learning more about that. So I will probably contact you in the future. And thank you so much for sharing about this sanitizing system.